A lot of parents may feel as if they really can't help their child when the child starts to get to fractions. I've had a lot of conversations with parents, and they're working with their parents, but once that child gets into fourth and fifth grade or somewhere thereabouts, they may say, "Hey, I don't know what to do. I really can't help them." And fractions are so important when it comes to like working with higher forms of mathematics, that it really is important to be able to kind of have your child understand it. So while I know it might seem kind of afraid or kind of difficult for you as a parent to think, how can I help my kid with fractions, or how can I help my kid when they start to get into these higher forms of mathematics, even if it's in elementary school, we'll try to look at some pointers today that may help you. It's a few things you can think about when it comes to fractions and even simplifying fractions. And when it comes to fractions, you simply have your numerator and denominator. We know that, and that you're breaking up something that's a whole into equal parts. And if you can kind of explain that to your child, or as you kind of walk through things, really explain to your child that you're really just taking something that's a whole and breaking it up into equal parts. So if you have something like 5 pieces of a candy bar, you had a whole candy bar and you broke it up into 5 pieces, you'd be taking a certain percentage, at a certain fraction of that to give to a child if you gave them 1/5 of it or 2/5 of it. So really fractions are just a way to break something that's a whole up into equal parts. And as you start to work with your child and you start to kind of move forward with things like that, this is really something that'll help them understand higher and higher forms of mathematics. Because one of the most important things, not just you understanding what a fraction is, and you can help your child by taking a piece of pizza or cake or ice cream. And when you divide it up, if you have that pizza and it's 8 slices, you're giving them 1/8 of that pizza. You can help your child understand that fractions are a part of real life, but not just you exposing your child to fractions. You obviously can expose your child to fractions, but also, when your child starts to take and starts to get into multiplication and division, that really has a lot to do with fractions, and it's really related in a lot of ways. And one of the things that helps children a lot when they get into older forms or higher forms of mathematics is understanding how to apply the things they learned in fractions to other forms of mathematics. So like if you had a fraction that was like 5/15, let's say, your child would have to be able to recognize that 5 and 15 have common factors in place, and that 5 is the greatest common factor, if you will. And your child would have to figure out how to divide the greatest common factor, which would be 5, and simplify that fraction that's 5/15 to 1/3. So one of the best ways you can do that with your child is really helping them understand what factors are, what multiples are. When they start to get their multiplication tables or they start to divide, really make sure your child is really on it. Really help your child understand division, help your child understand the basic facts when it comes to division, help your child understand multiples and factors when it comes to multiplication and know the multiplication's facts, and then expose your child in general as to what fractions are. Because if you really help them on the multiplication and division side, they'll better be able to solve fraction problems. And when they get older and they have to deal with algebra and calculus and things like that, they're going to have to do the same thing they did with fractions, only to more complicated expressions. So if you help them now where they're doing multiplication and division, you can really help them with fractions, and you can really help them later on in math. So let's say we had a number, 36/48. It's a fraction, but it's also a division problem. And let's say we're asked to simplify this fraction. You're going to simplify it. And this is very important because you're going to do this in algebra. You're going to do this in many different types of mathematics, where you're going to be asked to simplify an expression or to simplify something. And it's going to pretty much be the same type of process you're going to find out. So here we're going to factor out both of these numbers here and figure out what we have left and simplify it. So if I have 36, let's do this. I know 36 is 2 times 18. So I'm going to put a 2 there. And I know that 18 is 2 times 9. So I'll put another 2 here. And 9 is 3 times 3. So essentially I have that the number 36 is 2 times 2, which is 4, times 3, which is 12, times another 3, which is 36. So that's essentially, or you can look at it as 9 times 4, that's 36. So I've broken out 36 into factors 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Now let's do the same thing for the number 48. I know that 48 is 2 times 24. So I'm going to put my 2 there. And I know that 24 is 6 times 4. So I'll do the 4 first. 4 is 2 times 2. And then 6 is 3 times 2. So essentially now I have 48 as being 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is going to be 8, times 3, which is going to be 24, times 2, which is 48. So I've broken out 48 into 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 2, essentially. So all I have to do now is I have them one over the other. I can just cross out the factors that they have in common. This is how this works. So if I cross out the factors that they have in common, there's a 2 up here on the 36 and a 2 down here on the 48. I cross those out. There's another 2 on the 36 and another 2 down here on the 48. I'll cross that out. Now there's a 3 right here in the 36 and 1 3 down here with the 48. I've crossed it out. So now I have no more common factors that are above and below. I have a 3. I'm left with a 3 on the top. And I'm left with a 2 times 2, which is 4 on the bottom. And so that's 3/4. And that's your answer, 3/4.